welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie. Today we're talking about my May TBR. I stuck very close to my TBR for April and I want some more options next month. I have like 20 books here. I don't plan on reading all of them, but I still want a guide. Does that make sense at all? So here it is. I'm going to separate it into genres so you can skip around in the chapters down here. First off, a couple books that I'm definitely going to be reading in May. They're both romances. First, we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. Last year, I did an individual reading vlog for, oh my god, what was it called? Book lovers. And it was kind of a bummer because my expectations were so high. It wasn't a bad book. I'm still hoping for the best with this new book, so I'm probably going to do an individual reading vlog. This one is about a couple who have decided to break up, except they're going on a trip with all of their friends and they don't want to bring everyone down or like ask or answer questions, so they fake date with each other, which is, I don't know why that's such an original concept, because like fake dating is not original. It's like fake dating second chance. I don't know. I think it has potential. I have seen just a couple reviews already and they're like mid, but I'm hoping for the best. And then the next book I'm for sure going to be reading next month is The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons. This is historical romance and I have no idea what it's about. My mother-in-law actually gave me this, or she lent it to me years ago, and I still haven't read it, mostly because I'm nervous to talk to her about it. But she's coming here to Hawaii next month, and so I need to read it. What got me more excited to read it though is that Daphne put up a video, I think talking about her favorite romances, and this was included in that. So now I didn't even know this was romance. So I'm much more excited. So thank you, Daphne. Oh my god, it's a World War II story. It's about this girl who is living with her family. I can't tell if they're in hiding or not from the Nazis, or they're just poor and trying to, you know, survive. But she falls in love with a young officer in the Red Army. Is that one of the Nazis? I don't know what the Red Army is. I guess I'll find out. It says their love is impossible. I don't want her falling in love with a Nazi. This isn't The Sound of Music. Then I have the fourth book in the Magnolia Park series. This is the second of Daisy Hates' book though. I'm excited for this. I love Daisy a lot more than Magnolia, although she's annoying in her own way. I don't know. Daisy's story often have to do with like her brother's sort of mafia / gangster business, and so there's a little bit more action in it. I really hope we see more of Julian. I know we're gonna see more of Julian in here, although this is the same timeline as the third book, so I think we're gonna see some Magnolia in here, like a lot more than the first Daisy book. So I'm not excited for that, but we'll see. And last for romance, I have the Mindfuck series, books 1 through 5. This is huge, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about this series. I hear the first one's okay, but then it gets better and better and better. This is about a woman who's a serial killer and she has a lot of trauma in her past. I read like 40 pages previously and it was pretty intense, and like they didn't hold back with the blood and stuff like that, which I liked. But anyway, she starts going out with the FBI agent who's trailing her. He has no idea that she's the one who's been leaving all these bodies everywhere. So that's just gonna be so much drama and I can't wait. And then I have a stack of books here that fall somewhere between thriller, horror. There's even a little bit of sci-fi in here. I have a lot of NetGalley books that I've been neglecting, and so I picked the 4 shortest, maybe it was 3, whatever. I picked the shortest ones to go on this TBR. So if I'm in the mood for something horror, I'm going to pick up Feed Them Silence by Lee Mandello. This is the author of Summer Suns. I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was really intense. There was a lot of sexual tension. I liked it. It was moody and kind of crazy, but hey, so am I. This one's only 112 pages and it says on Goodreads it's horror / sci-fi. So a scientist is studying wolves and she figures out a neurological interface to translate her animal subject's perception through her own mind. So she kind of becomes a part of the pack. That sounds amazing to me. Although this came out last month and I haven't heard anyone talk about it. Then I have Sayaka Murata's Earthlings. I have read Convenience Store Woman, which I think I gave 4.5, and I also read Life Ceremony, and I think I gave that one like a 4.5 too. So that's what I am expecting from this. I'm expecting something about asexuality, something weird, and something kind of empty feeling, but gives me a lot of things to process and things to think about, and maybe a little funny. And then I have Death in Her Hands by Atesha Moshfegh. I've heard such great things about this. This month I actually read My Year of Rest and Relaxation, and I really like the writing, so I am so excited to get more into Atesha Moshfegh's books. I think this is about a woman who finds herself in the woods and finds a note that says her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here's her dead body, but there's no dead body. And so our girl tries to figure out this mystery, and I think she might go a little crazy. Okay, next thing I'm gonna go to if I'm in the mood for a thriller / horror is The Insatiable Volt Sisters. This is such a little book. This was in my most recent haul, and it's about twin sisters who, back in the summer of 1989, their parents are getting a divorce, and the parents decide that they'll take like one girl for each of them and move far away, sort of like The Parent Trap. And then 10 years later, one of the sisters calls the other and something's gone down. Their father has died. There's some murky memories filled with dread, and that's all it tells us. But the fact that this is categorized as horror makes me super nervous, but like excited nervous. And then it also says at the bottom that this explores inherited trauma and the siren call of monsters, real and imagined. I have no idea what that means, but I need to know. Next, if I'm in a thriller horror mood, I have The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I think this is about a girl who like joins a sex cult in college. She joins it with her friend, and then 8 years later, she finds out that her friend died. So she goes on this podcast for some reason. She talks about the time that she had in this cult. And I think she's also sort of figuring out what happened to her friend. And then, of course, I have Billy Summers by Stephen King. I talked about this in my haul as well. I've never read Stephen King. This is going to be my first time reading him, and I'm so excited. This is about a serial killer named Billy Summers. He's like an assassin, so he's a killer for hire. That's all it really tells us, but I heard this might have a little romance in it, like a very, very little amount, and I just love reading about the point of view of a serial killer. It's so fascinating to me. Now I have a stack of fantasy if I'm in that mood. I can go to The Crane Husband. This is another NetGalley. This one is 128 pages, and it's categorized as fantasy / horror, and I think it's actually like a retelling or a spin off of another story. I've heard about The Crane Wife before. Sorry, there's like dust flying in my face. I don't exactly know what it is, but I do want to read this. Okay, this 15-year-old girl lives with her mom and brother, and she kind of runs this family. She does all the bills. She's like the adult in the family, but one day her mom brings home a 6-foot-tall crane with a menacing air. Utterly enchanted and numb to his sharp edges, her mom abandons the world around her to weave the masterpiece the crane demands. There's some sort of fantasy element in here. Obviously, he's a talking crane. Okay, so this is a contemporary retelling of The Crane Wife, so I wonder actually if I have to read that first. I probably should do that to get like context, but I don't really want to. But it sounds like in this one, the teenage daughter is going to end up protecting her family from this intruder on her lives. I kind of want this to be wholesome so that they all be a happy family, but I don't think that's what this is. Then I have Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. Oh, I'm so excited to read this because Sarah Gailey is the author of one of my all-time favorite books, The Echo Wife, which I read last year and absolutely loved. This is about a set of twins. One of them is magically gifted and the other isn't, and that's really all it says, and that's all I want to know. I just know I'm gonna love this writing. I can't wait to talk to you about it. And then the last 3 for fantasies are sequels to books I started last month. I have the second book in this series. This is The Ballad of Never After. What is the first one called? Once Upon a Broken Heart. I didn't really enjoy that, so it does make me nervous for this book, but I had bought it before I read the first book. However, I've heard much better things about the second book, so I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna read it, and I'll let you know what I think. This is sort of like fairy tales, and there are different fates that are almost like mythological gods, and our main character has befriended sort of one of the fates named Jax. And literally so much happened in the first book, it's actually crazy. Ooh, then I have The Wicked King. This is the second book in the Cruel Prince series. I really, really like this first book, and I've heard it only gets better, so I'm so excited. This follows a girl named Jude, and she is sort of like a badass in training. I can't wait to see what she gets up to in here. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't read the first book, but I want to start this one now. And then we have the second book in the Throne of Glass series. This is Crown of Midnight. I have no idea what happens in here. I don't even really want to read the back. I just want to jump into the story. This is following our main girl named Selena. She is a badass assassin. She's like the most badass character I've ever read, which is like, I love her. So that makes me really want to jump further into this series. And I think she's officially, never mind, I can't say that because that's a possible spoiler for those who haven't read the first book, but I'm excited. This is another one where people say it just gets better and better too, so love that. And lastly, I have a stack of books here for if I'm in a literary fiction or a contemporary fiction kind of mood. I have 2 from NetGalley. First, I have The Nursery, which yes, I only requested this because this cover is just salacious. This is 208 pages, and I think it's about motherhood, but let me check. Ooh, the author from The School for Good Mothers, which I really enjoyed, says this is a radical novel. I'm obsessed with this book. Okay, yes. Oh, okay. This is a story about a woman with postpartum depression, and she kind of is just having a hard time, and she befriends the ailing neighbor upstairs. And I think there are a few timelines going on, like while she's so excited while she's pregnant, and then going to while she has this baby and she's exhausted and she doesn't really talk to her husband. So this is actually sounds really intense and possibly triggering to some people. I really hope it's just beautifully done. So yeah, there's that. Then I have Games and Rituals by Katherine Heine. Sorry, I like the word Heine. Maybe it's Haney. This is 240 pages, and the reason I requested this book is because I think back in 2021, before I had BookTube, I read Early Morning Riser by this author, and I thought it was so simplistically beautiful. It almost reminded me of Gilmore Girls, but it wasn't like the warm and friendly and funny part of Gilmore Girls. It was just this weird small town group of people who band together, but it's not like a found family where they're so warm and fuzzy. It's almost like the found family kind of book where they just tolerate each other, and after a long time they realize that no one else is going to match up to the relationships they have with all these town folk. So if you like slow, chill, contemporary books, maybe give that one a try. But Games and Rituals, Katherine Heine's newest release, this is a collection of short stories. It's all about love in all of its forms, both ridiculous and sublime. I'm excited for that. It actually sounds like this is going to be really wholesome. It says it's a satisfying work of glorious humor and immense kindness. Oh yay, I'm excited. And I like this cover. Then I have Jennifer Egan's A Visit from the Goon Squad. I know there's a sequel to this, and that's the reason I bought this first book a few years ago or last year, I can't remember. But I did read the first chapter of it in a tri-chapter tag, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so rich in detail, so character driven, but like written very cool. And it was almost like a storytelling. And I heard, I think someone explaining this as almost if they are short stories. I don't know if that's accurate because it doesn't say that on the book. It's about Benny, who's an aging former punk rocker and record executive, and Sasha, who he employs. She's passionate and troubled. The first chapter I read was all about Sasha, and she sounded so interesting. She has that, what's it called when you steal for like emotional release? Kleptomaniac? Or is that the sex one? Kleptomania. She just sounded so complex a character, and I just want to read more about her. It does sound like there are a lot of other characters, so maybe this is short stories, all like interconnected. Then if I'm in the mood for some literary fiction, I have Megan Nolan's Acts of Desperation. I've heard some good and bad things about this, and I'm ready to make my own mind up about it. I've heard people say that this is like an anti-romance. Actually, it says it right on the back. It's about the seductive destruction of trying to find self-worth in the gaze of another. Ugh. I feel like there's gonna be so many things in here that I can identify and empathize with, and I'm gonna have to underline and just like, ugh. And then lastly, I have Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi. I've heard literally nothing but good things about this. This is about a girl and her sister, and this book has like them holding hands. I could cry just looking at this. Oh shit. Oh no. Okay, this is about two sisters. They really annoy each other and they don't want anything to do with each other until one of them gets cancer. I forgot about that. Flung together by sickness and bound with family secrets, will the sisters learn more about themselves and each other than they're willing to confront? I'm gonna cry when I read this, I just know it. Oh god. So there, that is my array of books that I have to choose from in the month of May. Forgot what month it was. I think out of all of these, I'm most excited for these two. So we'll see which ones I start with. You'll see in the next video. Well, not the next one probably, but the one after that. Okay, bye.